Hi, I'm Scott. This is what I call the Ponderosa Lodge chicken coop composter. It's primarily a composter, but it's also an excellent chicken coop. In this video, I'm going to give an overview of this, the construction, the function. I'm going to go through the cleaning and maintenance, and I'm going to show how to remove the compost. This chicken coop composter consists of a coop on top, the triangular portion, a compost chamber, that's the stone portion. The chickens live on top of the compost heap. The roosting area is up in the top of the coop. And at the bottom, on each side, there's a clean out door to remove the compost. On my particular chicken coop composter, I've got a ramp here that I can, right now there's a water in front of it. It blocks the chickens in. In the winter, I can remove the water and let the chickens into the apple orchard, and they get the fallen apples and disrupt the apple moth population over the winter. I've got this in the shade. In the winter they can get out in the orchard. In the summer, you wouldn't want this out in the direct sun. It would get too hot in there. So I would recommend, if you build this, to put it in a shady area. On the back side, you can see an aluminum chute that I made. It goes into an upper yard. Makes it easier to feed kitchen scraps into this composter. That's for my own use. The design doesn't necessarily require a chute, but you might, for a given use, given installation, a person might want to install a chute. Here's these screen kind of windows. If you wanted to, you could make these hinged, make one of them hinged, feed compost in that way. The primary way of getting the compost in here is through these triangular doors on the end. This side is my feeder side, and I usually put the compost in the other side. So I'm going to take a look here at the feeder area. There's 2 feeders. I've got a light for winter. Get me a few more eggs. Here's the roosting area. The other side, there's the laying boxes, the nesting boxes. Right now I've got 7 hens in here. 8 is what I would call the capacity of this. Up to 8. And there's the top of the compost heap. So you can see the chickens roost over it, poop on it, scratch it, break it down. Think of the chickens as your power shredders. You can put a lot of things in here. Any compostable material. I'm not going to get into that in detail. But anything that's compostable that won't hurt the chickens. And so you can put a lot of chickens. You can put a lot of kitchen scraps in here without creating any kind of a mess. There's really not that much cleaning involved as far as the chicken coop goes. This area I might have to scrape down with a hand shovel every month or 2. A little bit of poop gets on there. I just push it off over into the compost heap. This is the other side of the composter. This is the side with the nesting boxes. There you can see the chute. Here's the nesting area. You can see the feeders on the other side. You can see a couple of lower roosts for them to jump up off the compost heap when it's down lower in that corner over there. This side of the coop requires a little more cleaning. Sometimes it gets some poop right in here. You can just scrape it off with a hand trowel. Sometimes the nest gets too full of poop. You can just scrape this all out, just dump it right into the composting area. So the cleaning on this chicken coop composter is very minimal. Once a month at the most. And when you do have to do it, it's just like a minute at the most. I'm going to talk a little bit about the construction of this chicken coop composter. This is a permanent design. You want to be sure of what you're doing before you put this in. You're gonna have to have long-term supply and need to compost material. I've been putting in a wheelbarrow full of compostable material a week. You could easily put in 2. You want to have little bit of experience composting. You also should have some experience with chickens. You know, this is not movable. You want it to be centrally located. It's also good to have it in the shade, but you want to have it close to the kitchen, close to the house for collecting eggs, for bringing out kitchen scraps, close to the garden for putting in garden weeds and stuff like that. So you'd want to carefully consider this before you did it. If you think you can get some long-term use out of this, it's actually pretty cheap to build. I've got a concrete slab under the bottom, a little bit of rebar in there. Concrete's cheap. Got some stones that came off my property. That could be any kind of masonry, anything you can get a hold of that you feel comfortable putting together that will come out looking good. The top's a little bit of wood, that's basic. The roof could be anything. I got this metal roofing on the cheap. You know, you could use split cedar shakes. You could use roof tiles. Whatever you want to create the effect you want. All in all, not that expensive, but a lot of labor. So you do want to consider this carefully before you get started. To take finished compost out of here, got to remove the door. Do that by taking out these 3 pieces of rebar. Just lift them up, pull out, before it comes out. It's the first time I've cleaned this out, so from the initial loading of compost, there's a certain amount just right here on the outside that didn't compost. I'm just going to scrape that off. And I'm going to feed that back in at the top of the coop. This should be the only time that happens, just the initial cleaning out. And you can start removing the compost. This is really well broken down, very well composted, really good stuff. You should consider this compost hot, since the chickens are right on top of it. You need to add water on the top occasionally, especially in the summer, to keep the whole compost pile damp and composting correctly. This is just great stuff. Let's put something a little too big in. Looks like a branch or a root. So to finish removing the compost, you'd want to go around all 4 sides, clean out a layer along the bottom of the entire composter, 12, 16 inches deep. And then, the whole, what's left of the pile above will slump back down. So you've seen the basic maintenance. As far as the chicken coop goes, virtually nothing. Also adding compost in there all the time, compostable material. There's really not that many flies involved with this whole thing, not very many odors. You can have it relatively close to the house without worrying about that too much. Cleaning's not too much. You get a lot of good compost. So, take a look at the next 3 or 4 construction videos. Maybe this will be something to work out for you. Maybe it's just a starting point. You can use the concept and do something better. So, hope this helps somebody out with their chickens and composting. Good luck.